Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are staying safe and home if you can. I was reading a bunch of your guys' comments on my last video and I was so happy to hear that my videos are helping to distract you a little bit and bring some sort of light to your days, and I want to continue to do that. It's hard not to talk about what's happening in the world right now, but if my videos can be some sort of escape for you, following that intention gets me really excited to create content for you guys. So today we are making a video that you guys have been asking for so long. I didn't have some crazy transformation, but a lot of you guys have asked how I lost the weight, how I toned up, and what are some tips that you have. I tried to film this video 2 weeks ago and I ended up having 2 hours of footage. The whole video I was just talking in circles and making sure that I wasn't going to offend anyone and just making sure I wasn't going to say the wrong things, because this is a very sensitive topic and I think all of us struggle with this at some point in your life. Health and fitness and your relationship with your body and your self-confidence, it's so different and unique for everyone. I can go on and on about the things that you should be weighing yourself for, like how you make people feel when you're in a conversation with them, or what you have to bring and give to this world. Beauty and self-confidence just goes so much deeper than how you look on the outside. It is so much about how you feel in your body and feeling comfortable in your skin. I don't want this video to feel like this is what I looked before and that was bad and that wasn't beautiful and this is what I look like now. Both versions of myself are beautiful. And also, my body is going to change. I plan on having kids in the future. Gravity pulls your skin down. Accepting that my body will always be changing was the first freeing moment for me. The reason why this video felt important for me to make is because I look back on that version of myself and it's not about how I looked or how I fit in clothes, but it was the relationship that I had with my body and the way that I treated myself and the amount of guilt that I would hold on myself. It was so consuming. I just felt my intentions were in the wrong place and I was doing things for the wrong reasons. We'll get into that later, but the other reason I wanted to do this is because if any of my tips and tricks that I share with you guys inspires you to better yourself, I'm all for that. I think there's always room for improvement. So I want to talk about this shift of mentality and then also just simply what I did to lose the weight. I'm going to be spilling all of the tea. Let's jump back, okay? Growing up, I never really thought about it. I started making YouTube videos in middle school. I think around high school, it's pretty common for girls to start comparing their bodies to other girls or celebrities or models. I would get comments about my teeth being too big or too yellow or having elf ears. All of this stuff is just so burned in my memory, and that sort of stuff kind of set it off for me. I did everything. I think in high school, I used to Google the height and weight of celebrities like Miley Cyrus and Mila Kunis to compare myself to what they looked like and what I thought I should look like, which is just so problematic because everyone's body is so different. Even just jumping from high school to moving out to Los Angeles and living on my own for the first time, throughout all of that, I never got super obsessive with one certain thing, but I always was fluctuating in my weight and constantly going through phases, and the reason why nothing ever stuck is because it either was unattainable for just a daily lifestyle or I started it for the wrong reasons. I feel like I've literally gone through every single phase. I went vegan for 7 months. Back in high school, I tried calorie counting for 2 weeks. If I reached my daily limit in calories, I would go out for a run to try to set it back to neutral, which is just not the way that bodies and health work at all. I had a cycling phase where I did indoor cycling all the time with my girlfriends, but then we would go out and get drunk and party, and then the next morning we're hungover, but we'd sweat it all out by working out, and we were just depriving our bodies of rest and nutrition. And I would force myself to do some of these workout classes that just either kind of did nothing for my body or I really just did not enjoy doing. Then comes the influence of living in Los Angeles, and that all sort of mixed into social media and Instagram and constantly seeing the highlights of people's people's lives and their best angles and their best lighting. And I was so guilty of that. I'll say it here first. I would use Facetune. I would get insecure if someone was about to post like a group photo that I didn't get to approve before. Like it's just so sad how consuming it had become. The biggest difference for me is just mentally how I viewed all of this and how I treated my body. It makes me sad thinking back on it. I think around spring 2018, I was probably my heaviest. I was about 18 pounds heavier than I am right now. I started getting comments about my arms. You're so young. Why do you have saggy arms like a pregnant woman or something? And it destroyed me. I was too insecure to wear like spaghetti tank tops in my videos. Growing up online and being in the public eye totally messed with my concept of like self-image. The only reason I say this stuff is because I was always too afraid to admit that. I would try so hard to preach this healthy lifestyle and self-confidence and stuff when inside I felt like a fraud because I didn't know how to love myself yet. I think that's okay. I don't think that every 18, 19, 20-year-old knows how to process that and give advice to thousands of people. So I just want to normalize that. Let's get into the details. Let's get nitty and gritty. How did I lose the weight? I've compiled a list of different tips and I'm gonna go into each one with my personal experience and why it's on this list for me. Nothing about what I'm gonna say is fast or cutting corners or quick cheats on how to drop 20 pounds in a month. It took me a year and a half to get to where I am right now. I think a lot of people don't know that because when you're losing weight very slowly, people just don't notice it as much. And so suddenly, you know, it can be 8 months later and my friends were like, whoa, how'd you lose so much weight so fast? What? And like, it had already been 8 months. These are still things that I stick to as much as I can nowadays. And I've been doing these things for like a year and a half. Through doing all of these, I just feel way more connected and comfortable in my body and I'm listening to it. I know how bad I used to feel and mentally how I used to think. Those 2 points are the reasons why I've stuck with this. Tip number 1, if you are going to change anything about the way that you are currently eating, your diet, whatever you want to call it, take it slow. Be patient with yourself. Don't try to cut out a million things. Take one improvement that you want to work on and focus on that one thing and see how you feel. My issue growing up always was trying to just start and end things cold turkey. It would throw off my energy levels, completely throw off just the balance of like my digestive system and everything. Because I would make all these drastic changes, I never let my body get used to them, and so they just never stayed consistent. And I felt so lost and sort of helpless because I had done all these things. Around fall of 2018, I met my boyfriend, Phineas. Just from being in a relationship with someone who found me so beautiful and sexy, it helped me to become way more comfortable with myself and sort of regain that self-confidence. But I started making really subtle lifestyle changes that eventually led to the weight loss, but I did not realize it when I started doing them. The first thing that I changed is I really cut back on my alcohol intake. That makes me sound like I drank a ton back in the day, and I really didn't. I think especially around my age range and just being in the city. Summer of 2018, your girl was partying, going out on weekends, taking her tequila shots, all of those Moscow mules and cocktails and shots and mixed drinks, all of that adds up. And then you have the drunchies, so we'd go to Mel's Diner and get some French fries or whatever, Postmates when we get home. At this point, we definitely drink wine here and there. I would say I have like a glass of wine once a week, once every 2 weeks. There was just like a whole month where I stopped drinking, and it was crazy how much that sort of shifted things for me mentally and physically. Around the new year, so now we're talking January 2019, I really wanted to try out taking dairy and red meat out of my diet. Both of those food categories just never sat well in my stomach. Dairy would just break me out and make me gassy, and then red meat would just make me feel really like backed up and bloated because it would take longer for my body to digest the red meat. And so those kind of slowly left the chat. Those were like the only 3 things that I cut out. I never stopped cutting out sugar. I never cut down on my fats or my carbs or anything like that. We eat pasta all the time. We have bread all the time. So let's talk about fitness. Being active is very important. moving your body, stretching your muscles, moving your joints, getting your heart rate up. These are all things that we've just grown up knowing, and it's common sense. I think when it comes to toning up and strengthening your body, it is very, like, you gotta be active. You can't build up muscle without doing something. I think the secret to it all is just finding out what you enjoy doing, because it won't feel like an obligation or a chore that you have to do. Barry's boot camp, hot yoga, cycling, Orange Theory, working out in the gym, doing weights, running on the treadmill. February of 2019, at this point, I was like 2 months in to just feeling so much better about myself for making all these little changes that we just discussed. Around that time, a couple of my friends got really into hot Pilates. Now, this was a game changer for me. I have always hated running. Bad knees just runs in my family, so my knees hurt if I run too much. Working out at the gym, I couldn't get myself motivated enough to do that and stay consistent with it. Hot Pilates taught me that I am really into doing workouts that are based on my body weight, so not using any sort of crazy weights, not using any crazy equipment, you know, crunches, push-ups, abs, stationary sort of cardio stuff like jumping jacks and squat jumps. I found all of that to be way more stimulating and exciting for me versus like going outside and running 3 miles. I think it was the combination of just like killer music blasting in the studio, developing friendships and going out with friends, which is an incredible way to get yourself motivated to be active, which is just not doing it alone, doing it with others, doing it with friends, encouraging each other. So I think it was like the combination of all of that got me so into working out for the first time in my life. I finally was like, I found something that I love. I would say around like Coachella 2019, I was ripped. I felt so good about my abs. I felt the strongest I'd ever felt in my entire life. And that was also kind of the point where people were like, girl, you look snatched. Did you lose weight? For a very, very long time and many months, I was just obsessed with Pilates. I loved it so much. Right now, I'm in a different phase. We now have a dog, so we walk in the mornings, we take hikes that run for at least an hour long. For being honest, I really want to get back into hot Pilates, but the only reason why I haven't in a long time is because I live much farther away now, so it's kind of hard to justify a very long drive to get to a class that you're also going to be sweating in for an hour, and then you have to drive it's like a 3-hour experience. So cutting out those 3 things taught me to listen to my body in a way that I never realized I could, because anytime I would have one of those things, I would notice such a difference with how I felt either that day or within the hour or the next morning. It taught me to be patient and actually listen to my body, because I remember times where I felt like food controlled my day. I would wake up in the morning and be so excited about my breakfast, and then I would snack. There were days where I just didn't experience the feeling of hunger, because the second I slightly started getting hungry or I was actually just thirsty, I would immediately eat my next meal or snack right away. My digestive system was just always going, always churning. Recognizing when my body was hungry and wasn't hungry was so much easier and so much clearer to me. At the end of the day, whatever works for you might totally not work for someone else. I'm not going to recommend, you should have 3 meals a day or you should have 6 smaller meals a day. There are so many different diets and lifestyles that work for people and work for their schedules. My next tip is to figure out what you like that's healthy and good for you and brings nutrition into your body, and stick with it. If you don't like Brussels sprouts, do not force yourself to eat Brussels sprouts. When I decide that I like something, I will eat it all the time. I have a very bland taste bud palate. My favorite thing for breakfast is avocado toast. It gives me healthy fats in the morning. I get carbs in from the bread that helps me with energy. Avocado toast, I could eat that every single day and I wouldn't be mad about it. My number 1 vegetable is broccoli. Broccoli will never let me down. So you'll find me eating broccoli way more than I'm eating asparagus. This next tip was very game-changing for me. My most vulnerable moments were always when I was out with friends. This might sound dumb, but when it comes to indulging yourself in any sort of dessert or something that you know is not bringing any sort of nutritional value to you, but it's bringing you joy and happiness, which is sometimes on the same level. If you have a craving, go satisfy it. When it comes to that stuff, sharing is a game changer. For example, when Phineas and I go out to restaurants, every single time we always get dessert. It's like this weird thing where if they ask us about a dessert menu, we're gonna take it, we're gonna choose something, no exceptions. Like, we're gonna have dessert at the end of our meal. But we enjoy ordering one thing and just sharing that one thing. Sharing something indulgent with someone makes you appreciate it more, I feel like. Even just like with every bite and spoonful, you're like, oh my God, this is so good. What do you think? Oh my God, are you also dying? Whether it be with your friend or your sibling, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, your roommate. And this is coming from someone who used to have the biggest sweet tooth in the entire world. I just feel better at the end. I'm like, yes, this is something that we shared, we enjoyed together, and I don't feel like I overdid it by any means. I'm so sorry if you were hoping that I would go through every single thing that I eat and don't do and do, but I personally don't want to live a life that is so focused on what I'm putting in my mouth and what I am doing every single day, because I've been there and I've been that obsessive, and it doesn't make me happy. And honestly, every single day is different. All of those things I just mentioned are things that I like to remind myself, and all those lifestyle changes turned into habits and kind of just fell after one another. I guess I've never approached the way that I ate in that way, which is sort of like, oh, this one thing made me feel really good. Well, yeah, so I'm not gonna drink alcohol every single weekend. What if I cut out this thing? Wow, that makes me feel so much better too. I never want to be restrictive. I never want to punish myself for slipping up one night, because you have to look at the big picture. What sorts of things do you want to change and follow that you can keep up with and that are going to impact your health and your energy and everything in the grand scheme of things? And honestly, that is all that I've done. And my body's still always changing. I definitely am not as ripped as I was when I was doing hot Pilates, and I'm not mad about it. And my fitness and health journey doesn't end here. It's just unrealistic to think that you can get to one place and just stay there forever. What the past year and a half has taught me is that all of these different lifestyle changes and habits and everything that we talked about in this video are going to affect the way that you feel when you're 30, 40, 50. I want to do things that are going to ensure my health when my kids are having kids. You know, I want to be around for that. There's so many reasons why taking care of your health is so important, and I feel like it just goes way bigger and beyond than just aesthetically how you look. All these workouts and all these little things, they all add up, and I personally just want to set myself up for a healthy future. That's the video. I really want this video and the comment section down below to be a positive and encouraging space. So if I see anything that's negative or toxic, I will probably just delete it. And that's not because I don't want to face any sort of criticism or anything like that. I just really want the comment section to be a conversation where we can encourage each other and share different tips and all that stuff. If I see something crazy negative, kicking it out. I love you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you guys for a new one very soon. Bye.